Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Erin, where I teach tips, tools, and tutorials to virtual assistants like you. And this week, we are talking about training for meeting planning. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is meeting planning? And is it different than calendar management? And the answer is yes. If you have not practiced setting meetings or calls on a client's calendar before, check out this video that's popping up right now and try that task first. And then come back here. We'll talk a little bit more about meeting and meeting agendas. So, occasionally, clients will ask you to do things like uh, join a meeting and take minutes. Minutes are just another word for notes. Clients might also ask you to help get ready for a meeting. And by that, they mean they want you to come up with an agenda. They want you to set the date and time with people. They want you to email the agenda out or any materials that might be needed during this meeting. So there's a lot of different things that can go into meeting planning. And that's where this week's practice and prompt comes in. So here's how this works. I'm going to give you a prompt where I am your client, and congratulations, you are officially my VA. I have just hired you. And I'm going to ask you to help me with my meeting planning. Now, before I give you even any training, I want you to give this your best effort. I want you to actually pause this video, do the task that I'm asking you to do. And in this case, it might be that you take out a pen and a paper and you plan out all the steps that you would take in order to help me plan this meeting out. And then I want you to play the video again and compare your answers with mine. And we'll do a little training to make sure that you are leaving this week's video training with the tools and resources you need to be an amazing virtual assistant when it comes to planning meetings. So here's your prompt. I need to meet with my board of directors next Tuesday. Please set up a meeting with the group and prepare to take minutes. If you haven't already, pause this video. Based on the prompt that I'm giving you, I want you to take a couple notes. What am I asking you to do? What questions do you have for me that you're not clear on? Because I'm definitely not giving you all the pieces to the puzzle. But this, my friend, is a very realistic example of what a client will give to you, because clients often think that you're a mind reader and they will expect you to know things like how many people am I meeting with, how many people need to be there, what are their emails, et cetera, et cetera. So pause the video right now, think through all the things you need to know from me, and think through all the things that you will do to help set this meeting with my board of directors.
A few moments later.
Okay, welcome back. Hopefully that was a fun 5-minute brainstorm. I'm really curious to see how you guys did and what kind of stuff you came up with. So without further ado, let us compare our answers. So first and foremost, when a client says to you, I need a meeting with my board of directors, go do it. The first thing you always want to do is align on the purpose. Before you even are like, okay, client, I got it. I'm going to go do this for you. You need to understand a few key concepts, like what is the purpose of the meeting? How many attendees are there? What is the desired outcome of the meeting? All of these things are going to help inform how you go about sending out invites, what the tone of your emails are, what's perhaps needed if you need to get any materials together for this meeting. So always coming together with your client first to understand what the heck is going on. Like, you need more context for sure. Questions you'll probably want to ask me, aka your client, is who is actually needed in this meeting? Another question, by the way, is who is not needed in this meeting? Like, let's just say, for example, I have 10 people that I need in my board of directors meeting. If you asked me, hey, is everyone needed? Or is somebody, if all 10 people can't get together next Tuesday, can we move forward without them? That's a super valid question, because your client might be like, you know what? Yeah, I only need these 5 people, and everybody else is nice to have, but these 5 people are need to have. The second thing you'll probably want to ask your client is this meeting next Tuesday in person? Are we meeting at your office, or is it virtual, aka on Zoom? How long do you expect the meeting to run? In some cases, clients might be like, yeah, 30 minutes. I'm going to pretend like my board of directors meeting is going to be 2 hours. You need to know the length of the meeting so that you can plan and calendar things in around this giant meeting. And then you might want to ask your client, what topics are you hoping to cover? And the reason that we ask, what topics are you hoping to cover in this meeting, is because you can then create a loose agenda. Now, I say a loose agenda because, again, you are not a mind reader. You're not going to know exactly what your client hopes to cover in this meeting, but you, as the VA, can come and create a Word document or a PDF document that very loosely has an agenda where it has the start time, where it has the topics that your client would like to cover. Maybe your client has an order in which they wish to discuss things, and maybe you then, knowing that your client says, I have 2 hours for this meeting, if you then know the topics that they want to cover, you can kind of reverse engineer it and be like, oh, all right, we have 2 hours. I'm going to loosely dedicate 20 minutes to this topic and 20 more minutes to this topic and 10 minutes for this last one and then 10 minutes for Q&A. So you can kind of come up with a loose agenda to help keep the meeting moving forward. The third thing you're going to want to do is actually schedule the meeting. So if you haven't already, again, I implore you to check out this other video with the practice tasks where we talk about setting calendar details, because I go through more details of exactly how to set calendar dates, to set meeting dates with lots of other people. It's good practice to have. But when it comes to actually scheduling, you'll have everybody's email who you need to get into contact with, and you'll send them an email with a couple different suggested time zones, times, and dates. And one of the hardest things to do, you'll be surprised, is to get a group of people together, especially if everybody is a busy, busy, busy entrepreneur. So something that I recommend, little pro tip for you, is to use a scheduling tool like Doodle. Doodle is my favorite tool, and I will post a link in the description below to the tool, but it's completely free. But as you can see here, what it allows you to do is set dates and times, and then people that you send the poll out to, so the attendees of the meeting, will then simply click X's on the times and dates that they are not available and check marks for the dates and times that they are available. So this tool is really great because it's visual. And if you're a visual person like me, it's then really easy to look at the poll once everybody who needs to be in that meeting has responded. It's very clear to me that, Friday at 1 p.m. is the time that everyone can come together. So Doodle poll is a lot better than sending out emails, because trust me, if you are gathering details from 10 different people, 10 different people might be available at 10 different times, and all of a sudden your email chain goes from one email to 30 emails real quick. Once you have your date and time set, you'll want to then send out calendar invitations. When you send out a calendar invitation, I want your subject line to be very clear. What it is that you're meeting about. So it could be board of directors meeting, parentheses, specifics that your client needs to cover. In the time and place, I want you to put either a Zoom link if you guys are meeting remotely, or an actual address if your client is meeting in person. And in the description box of the calendar invite itself, it's also really helpful to copy and paste the agenda so that other attendees know what it is that you guys are going to discuss. And so any relevant details is helpful. You'll notice another little pro note down here, note about reminders. If you are using a service to book things like Calendly, for example, Calendly is great because it comes with a service that sends automatic reminders like 24 hours prior. But if you're not using a service, or if your client is like, I don't use Calendly, just send the calendar invites out from Google, and you're doing it yourself, I want you to make a note in your own calendar to send a reminder email to all the attendees 1 to 2 days prior to the meeting itself. So in my prompt, for example, I told you I needed a board meeting on Tuesday. So Monday morning, you would send an you would send an email to all the attendees confirming the details and confirming the agenda for Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera. This is just a nice reminder to everybody involved that they do, in fact, have a meeting the next day. You will be shocked how busy, busy people can forget to look at their calendar. But as a VA, that's the joy. That's our job, to help make sure everybody is aligned and on the same page. Another thing I would like you to consider is preparing meeting materials. So go ahead and ask your clients, do you need any slides? Are there any presentations? Are there any documents? Are there any reports that I need to send to the meeting attendees before you guys meet? In some cases, your clients will say, no, we're good. We're just talking in person. Or in other cases, like in my prompt I gave you, if I'm doing a board meeting, I might have a presentation. So I would say, yes, my wonderful virtual assistant, please get my presentation together. Make sure you're proofreading it. By the way, if you've never practiced proofreading before, I have another practice video popping up right here for you. and then send out any materials ahead of time to attendees. Also, pro tip, and this is a pro tip, I also like to, if I have materials to send out to people, I not only email them during the confirmation email, so like Monday morning, I'm like, hey, y'all have a meeting on Tuesday. This is the time, this is the date, and I'm attaching materials for your review prior to the meeting. And then bam, I would attach my client's PowerPoint or documents or whatever it is that they want to share. Pro tip, I also share those materials on the calendar invitation itself. That way, if your client is flustered the next day and they get into the Zoom link or they get into the meeting and they're like, oh my God, I don't know where I saved my presentation, you can remind them that you saved all those details on their calendar link. So they can open up the Google Calendar or the Outlook calendar and simply open the attached materials that you uploaded for them on their calendar. That makes you a very, very good, very proactive virtual assistant. Okay, so meeting planning continued. You will very likely be asked to take notes. So we're virtual. There's in no way, shape, or form can you attend a meeting that's happening in person. But many meetings that do happen in person will either have a dial in, like if your client is meeting in an office, they probably have a phone you can call into where you can be on a speakerphone and listen into the meeting. Or worst case scenario, your client puts you on speakerphone. Like you literally call your client during the meeting, they put you on speakerphone and you listen as everybody is speaking. Best case scenario, it's a virtual meeting and they're meeting by Zoom, in which case, again, you listen to the meeting and you already have this beautiful agenda that you've created for your clients. All you need to do now is build out the agenda by taking notes. So take notes about the things they discuss, the decisions that they're make, next steps, action items, things that are still pending, things that are unclear. You taking notes is going to be really, really helpful because it eliminates the need for your client to be thinking like, oh, I need to remember this comment that one of my board of directors made. Another benefit, by the way, of using Zoom is that you can also record these calls or these meetings automatically. That way you can go back through the recording and help take notes for maybe things that you missed in the moment as well. And the last thing you'll want to do when you are helping with meeting planning is when all the meeting is said and done, you've taken notes, you've cleaned up the agenda, everything is really easy to understand and concise, you want to send an email recap to all of the attendees. If you have a recording through Zoom, you may want to consider sending an audio recording of the meeting as well, just so that everybody is on the same page. But for the most part, I find that busy clients don't necessarily need to see the recordings, but they do like to look at the meeting notes and the recap so that, again, everybody's on the same page and you've just helped refresh everybody's memories. So those are my tips for you for meeting planning. 7 pretty heavy tips. Meeting planning is one of these services that almost all entrepreneurs, CEOs, COOs, founders need. And that's because people who are in this business world are typically doing things like fundraising. If they're a startup, they are meeting with boards of investors who help them. They are meeting with boards of directors. And it's just something to keep in mind that you can offer a service as a virtual assistant with a core service for meeting planning. And that can be a core part of your service, helping your clients make sure that everything is aligned and moving forward. Yeah. So, what else do you guys want to learn? I'm here to help give practice tasks. So, if there's something that I haven't covered yet and you've either covered with your clients or you want to learn more about, maybe it's how to edit podcasts or manage podcasts for clients. Maybe it's how to manage client communities. Maybe it's how to do some light video editing. Whatever it is, leave me a comment below because I really love teaching practical tasks. And I thank you guys so much for watching this week's video, and I'll catch you on the next one.